The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. George Bernard Shaw. Of all of these strange linguistic behaviors found throughout the political sphere these days, I find the use of the term political correctness to be one of the weirder ones. This is because, despite the fact that there is no shared definition of the term across political factions, when it comes to this particular issue, hostilities are especially pronounced. For those against political correctness, for example, the consensus is that pro-PC activists have nothing short of nefarious practices. Perhaps the most eloquent summation of this sentiment being found in Charlton Heston's formulation, "Political correctness is tyranny with manners." As far as I can tell, and correct me if I'm wrong, the most common complaint from the anti-PC movement is that the appeal to social etiquette has been taken to an unhealthy extreme and is being leveraged politically to violate people's rights. On the other hand, those in favor of political correctness tend to think of it as a moral act of altruism, casting opposition as either selfish to the point of immorality or even having some kind of hidden prejudice against the types of people their actions affect. A quick Google search helps to explain these claims as the definition, quote, "The avoidance often considered as taken to extremes of forms of expression or action that are perceived to exclude, marginalize, or insult groups of people who are socially disadvantaged or discriminated against," unquote, does indeed lend itself to either of these conclusions, to more or less degree. Interestingly enough then, both sides appear to agree, at least informally, that the dispute they have is over the role of public manners, especially in discourse. But what interests me here is not necessarily which side is morally righteous, but rather why the term political correctness of all things was adopted to designate this specific debate. Frankly, no one on either side is going to convince me, given the contents of the disagreement, that this term is in any way useful for having an accessible and frank discussion. Sure, a rose is a rose by any other name, I'll grant you that. But if the conversation is really about manners, then why not just say so from the start? What exactly is lost from that, besides the bells and whistles of technical jargon? Seriously, if you can explain to me why a debate this simple needs a different title, I'll fold. But for me, this kind of thing is unnecessarily contrived. We're literally adding another step to our thinking before we can form an intelligible stance on the topic this title is supposed to represent, seemingly just for the hell of it. Stuff like this highlights one of my biggest pet peeves with contemporary political activists. Their word choice tends to obfuscate their contentions. And that's such a shame, too, because anyone interested in resolving the political polarization of our time understands that a robust and thorough debate about the nuanced relationships between etiquette, personal expression, human rights, and social responsibility is exactly what the doctor ordered. So perhaps it's high time we toss the term for the sake of everyone's sanity. You know, cut the middleman, call a spade, set the stage for productive discourse. Good riddance and good night. Who am I kidding? Like hell that's gonna happen. But a man can dream, and it's important to be the change in the world you want to see. So, with that in mind, if the topic is manners, then let's talk about manners, shall we? Or so I would say, but that would put me in a pretty awkward spot. After all, this video isn't about manners, it's about political correctness, and since I just threw out the term completely, that means there's nothing left to talk about. Therefore, since there's nothing left to talk about, I guess that's just the end of this video, huh? Thanks for listening, I'm the Stupidologist. Stay tuned for future content, I've got fun stuff in the works. Hope you'll like it. Ciao.